Yankees hat. I mean, I don't mind.
I had the season's back, you know?
I know. Let's go.
At whatever capacity, the season is back. You got to get the energy going. I'm like getting myself together, and I'm like, oh, I got to show some love to my homies in Boston.
Yes. All right. We are live. This is Ted Metellus. He is the Vice President of Events. He is the Technical Director of the TCS New York City Marathon, joining us on our little Running USA check-ins as we go around the country. Ted, I think I want to call this series Running People Standing Still. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, as well as I can be, all things considered, just like everyone in the industry. But I'm an optimist by nature, and I'd rather, focus on the light than sit in the darkness. So I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
We're hanging in there, and I was just writing you to set this up a couple weeks ago, and I refreshed the webpage on the New York City Marathon and got the news that the race was canceled, and it is just a huge bummer.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry. And just tell us about the decision a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough one, to say the least. Really, really challenging, but it's on par with other large-scale mass participatory events where people come together. That's one of the biggest challenges that we're all navigating through, whether it's in Boston, New York, wherever else in the world. And not only in our specific industry in endurance sports, but we were just chatting a second ago about Major League Baseball. So like the games are going to happen, but no fans are going to be there. And one consistent piece to that is monitoring and paying close attention to what city, state, and federal rules are allowing you to do as far as people gathering together. So we had to follow that line and ultimately pay attention to what's been happening and what's been trending. And all signs pointed to us to follow the line of safety, which is our top priority in whatever industry we do. And to ensure a safe event would have been really challenging come November.
What sort of things are open in New York now, in the city? What sort of things have come back, I guess?
So, yeah, New York was the epicenter. About, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, our numbers were really peaking really high as far as COVID. Fortunately, we've done the necessary steps to ensure, trying to curve in the numbers and flatten in the numbers. We're right now in phase 3. So, bars, restaurants are open, no indoor dining. You can pick up to go, and there's a lot of outdoor seating. It's funny. It's almost like you're in Europe, where there's like these little outside alcove sitting areas and whatnot. So that's pretty cool to see, where business owners are getting creative. Gyms are not open yet. Nail salons have opened up, barbershops have opened up, all those types of things. So it's a slow process. What's been really, really interesting, as I'm sure you can tell, is looking at what's happening everywhere else. We were peaking and everybody else is flat, and now it's reversed. And our mayor and governor have been monitoring that and slowing the pace down as best we can with reopening and re-engaging business here.
It's been a wild ride, Ted. And like most of us, you surely had put some thought over the past few months as we all sat in this roller coaster. And you were thinking, I'm sure, about how you could make the marathon more safe. I know they couldn't come to fruition, but what were some of the ideas that you were cooking up?
Wow. What's been interesting in the learning process and trying to figure out what would stick and what would work is obviously paying attention to what's happening in the industry, but more importantly, paying attention to what would be allowed through city, state, and federal rules. But the biggest thing that you're well aware of is people coming together, and how do you manage that? Is it a lot of folks that are all in one spot over a certain amount of time? How do you work that out? So looking at time, looking at space, trying to see if you can adjust what start programs are going to be. So we looked at all of those types of elements.
The process of collaboration with the cities, the municipalities that you work with, did you bring some of these ideas to the city as you explored pulling this off, or were they not even ready to hear it yet?
Yeah, it was. What's been really interesting, Jim Heim, the race director of the TCS NYC Marathon, and my boss, He's part of a city task force of special events producers. So they're all coming together and really talking about what can be done. How can we do this? So it's been really interesting to get his feedback on this. And I'd be curious to know how many other cities are engaging event producers. And it's not exclusively large scale mass participatory events like running events and concerts and shows, but also professional sports leagues. So tennis, baseball, those types of things, anything where folks come together, everyone collectively are looking at solutions and ways to help address this and provide a safe environment. So yes, we did talk to the city, we talked about different ideas, but while that was happening, our numbers were skyrocketing, so that it was a difficult decision to make, but one that had to be made.
There must have been a point in whether it was April or May where, I mean, we went through it, everyone's gone through it, where you're watching it and you just, the bad feeling really starts to sink in. What month did that happen for you guys?
March.
Really? But I mean, I guess because as the epicenter, I guess like when in March? Was it like when the first case arrived in the state, or was it like not until the cases got from 10 to 100 or something?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, in all seriousness, we closed our offices. I remember this vividly, but we closed our offices on the 12th. Yeah. Friday the 13th, we were home, and we've been home ever since. And then it wasn't a slow process by any means. It came in, and it came in hard and fast. And just watching and paying attention to things firsthand and seeing things. I live about 2 blocks away from one of the largest hospitals in New York, Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, and the sirens. And then it hit home for me personally when I lost somebody that I knew personally. And that hit me in the gut. And I think about, my friend who passed and his family and everything else. And yeah, it was, it was compounded. It wasn't just one thing. It's, I've used the line before, a straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't the one straw, it was the millionth straw. So there was all of these straws were all coming down at one time on us.
Sorry about that, Ted. I didn't know that. Ted, last year, 53,640 people finished the 49th New York City Marathon, TCS New York City Marathon. That is an astounding number. It's the largest road race, I think, of all time.
Yes.
A decision like this, that brings forth a tremendous need for customer service. I mean, you've got a lot of people who have a lot of questions. How do you feel that most runners have been understanding of the position you're in?
Yes, I think because of the global impact of things and realizing this isn't something that's very centralized. This isn't bad weather. This isn't like poor infrastructure in a market or a city or an event. God forbid, it isn't even an act of terrorism. Those are very localized. I mean, the act of terrorism obviously has a larger impact, as you guys know firsthand in Boston. But, those are very focused. This was something worldwide, and its impact was worldwide. So not only was it affecting runners here in the New York metro area, but runners across the US and runners overseas. Communication was essential. It was really interesting to be a part of that process and the strategic planning in that communication. Functioning not only from a place of transparency, but clarity, which is key. So I could tell you what's going on, but helping you understand what the process is going to be key. And just making sure that everyone is properly armed with the right information. Your staff, your team that's there. So they know all of the information firsthand, and it's not exclusive to the runner services team, it's everyone, because we're all in the customer service business. We're all going to be in a position that's forward facing in front of our participants, our partners, our volunteers, our friends and family. So we were all talking the same, and we were all singing from the same song sheet.
How many people are on the team in New York? It's like 100 and something folks on the staff.
We have a little over 200 full-time staff,
So
and it's across the board.
Yeah, and that's a big network of folks who are working from home. How has the team just been doing? I mean, how has everyone been responding? As we're in the fourth month, we're in the 4th month now of this.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like what we're doing right now, TK. I mean, you're using technology as your best friend. I mean, think about it. 5 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, Zoom was the sound your kid made when he was riding by on his bike. It wasn't a platform or a tool that's used to connect people. So we use Teams, Microsoft Teams as a platform, as an organization to communicate and talk with one another. We obviously use Zoom. So it forces you to be creative. It forces you to be collaborative in different ways and stay engaged with folks, not only in a 9-to-5 business structure, but also in a social structure as well. So doing fun and creative things like team happy hours and team catch-ups, various team challenges for every month, like doing different workouts and whatnot, and everyone checking in. So those things are all part of that experience.
It's been a wild ride, Ted. I mean, I hope we see you at a race or at the next Running USA conference next year. Certainly there's going to be a full docket of things to cover. It's been a wild 4 months, man. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what I hope more so than anything is just the innovations that are coming from this and the creative ways that we are looking at how we can engage our participants, engage our volunteers, our staff, our sponsors. That's key. You know, you can't just throw your hands up in the air and say, we'll give it up. Life is over as we know it. But you have to look at it from a perspective of how can we do things differently and how can we create differently and engage differently. You know, less social distance because we want to be social, but more physical distance. So you and I are being social right now, but we're physically apart.
Yeah, for sure. What's the solution for runners this November? Like from that virtual,
you know,
what should they be looking forward to?
Jim says something a lot, which is interesting. He says there's power in the weekend of, the first weekend of November. I mean, it's no different than Boston's weekend of the marathon. We don't have anything formulated as far as what we're going to try to do, obviously, because, I mean, case in point, here in New York, a week or two ago, we were going to open up indoor dining, but then we watched the numbers spike across the country, and our mayor and governor said, no, we're going to back off that. So you can, there's the knowns and unknowns. You plan for the knowns, you prepare for the unknowns. Well, you're a little bit at a disadvantage here. But to answer your question directly, there is power in that date, and we would want to try to figure out a way to celebrate it in some capacity, whether it's virtually, whether it's, through various social media platforms, but, trying to get that connection and that engagement.
Got a big audience of folks I'm sure will be eager to jump in on something like that. And we'll certainly want to keep tabs on what it is. And you guys have a good team and a big team and no shortage of good ideas. So I'm sure there'll be some exciting news coming out. We could address the hat, but I'm not really going to address the hat. We know we got a 60-game season coming up. Hopefully it's anybody's race. Good luck to the Yankees this year.
Likewise to Boston. I mean, what people need to understand outside of this major rivalry is that it's great for the sport. You know what I mean? So when the Yankees and the Red Sox are playing one another, they get the highest viewers. People are in town. The energy is spectacular. So I think that'll be a welcome distraction when we're beating you guys. So yeah, looking forward to it.
I'll be watching from home. I don't think I'm going to be in the stands. That's for sure.
Likewise.
Ted Metellus from the New York Roadrunners, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll see you again, hopefully at a race sometime soon. We're at our next Running USA conference. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much, DK. Take care now.